Hello, everyone, and welcome to the April 2018 Amazon Monthly Briefing. My name is Jack O'Leary. I'm a senior analyst at Planet Retail R&G, and happy to have all of you join me today where we will recap some of Amazon's most recent tactics, strategies, and developments of the past month, and then we will continue our series of 2018 where we do a deep dive into a specific Amazon tactic. This month, we will be taking a look at the Amazon pricing system. With that, let's get started. So just to introduce myself, I'm a senior analyst at Planet Retail R&G. I'm based out of our Boston office, and I'm focused on e-commerce and digital ecosystems, covering emerging digital technology trends, looking at marketplaces, one of the most important of which is Amazon, and looking at digital innovation around retail. And excited to talk to you a little bit today about Amazon. So just to give you an idea of the agenda, per usual, we will do a recent events recap followed by a deep dive into one specific Amazon tactic. For this month, April, that will be pricing. Just a little bit of housekeeping before the webinar gets started. There is a question and answer tool available to you through your GoToWebinar tool. Please do leave any questions you might have in that tool. I will try to get to as many as possible once I complete the webinar. Additionally, when the webinar is completed and I close it out, there's poll questions available to you, 3 of them. I would really appreciate if you could answer those poll questions with your thoughts and feelings about the webinar. It really helps us tailor these webinars to be most impactful for you and your interests. So really appreciate that as well. Final bit of housekeeping is that this webinar will be available to subscribers, both video and deck, and we will be publishing actually a more content-driven report based on this topic in the coming weeks after this webinar. So please be on the lookout for that. But with that, let's get started. So recent events for Amazon, I want to frame these through one of our key frameworks that we've developed in our thinking around e-commerce and digital ecosystem management. And this is the pillars of what defines what we call a digital ecosystem. And the concept here is that the marketplace platforms that are really driving success and growth across retail are more than just retail platforms. Amazon, Alibaba's Tmall, Walmart.com, Jet, JD.com, Flipkart. These marketplace platforms are about more than just simple commerce. They are about transacting and interacting with consumers at as many locations and touch points as possible. And it creates a business model that is set up for future success due to 4 key pillars or aspects that define these models. Those aspects being an expansive value stack. The business model is about much more than just simple retail. It is a total offering that serves as almost a captive ecosystem for shoppers, whether it be content, whether it be a reviews engine, whether it be a deep integration with social channels. Shoppers, consumers, they move and interact with this business model, this digital ecosystem, due to the level of service, convenience, price, and assortment they get there due to the expansive value stack. Second is scale. These platforms drive kind of e-commerce economics, which is a really difficult area to kind of optimize around. These platforms are able to be successful because they are some of the largest, most fast-growing retail platforms around the world. That scale also supports all other aspects of the digital ecosystem, resulting in the most shopper viewership online, the deepest data sets, and basically perpetuates future growth in almost a flywheel fashion. Going deeper on that, data streams, these platforms, because they aggregate such tremendous consumer viewership, have some of the deepest data sets in the world. Because some of these platforms are some of the most innovative technology companies, they also are able to develop the best strategies and be most well-informed in terms of their strategic priorities for retail and otherwise going forward. This can be everything from deciding what category to launch their own private label in, to figuring out what sort of rapid fulfillment system will work best in a specific region of a country on the other side of the world. Finally, these platforms are some of the most innovative and technologically advanced in the world. Amazon, for one, repeated their 2017 or their 2016 feat, while in 2017 of being the #1 spender on research and development of any publicly traded company in the United States. And expect Amazon and other platforms around the world, these digital ecosystems only continue to do that, which sets them up for future success because they are going to innovate, invent, and create new product categories, new innovative consumer programs, and make themselves the most fast-growing and desirable platforms to consumers around the world. But framing the recent developments through these pillars of this digital ecosystem, let's look at some of the big news items of the past month for our April briefing. I think probably the biggest news item of late was in the past week with the release of their annual report for 2017. The CEO of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, also released his annual letter to shareholders in which he revealed the total number of Prime memberships worldwide at 100 million paid Prime subscriptions. I think Prime membership is really key and critical to the value stack aspect of the digital ecosystem. The concept of Prime is one that there's been quotes from Amazon executives saying that they want the shopper to feel like they would be irresponsible to not be a Prime member due to the level of retail service, whether that be through rapid speed fulfillment, due to the level of content they receive through Prime Video, music, due to the exclusive access to things like Prime only lightning deals, whether it be to unique systems, Amazon's fresh pickups, which they are trialing in the Seattle area. As a Prime member, you get better access to more favorable times to pick up your groceries. If you're in an Amazon bookstore as a Prime member, there's advantages to using your Amazon app and scanning items as you walk through the aisles. Prime membership, due to the outlay of an initial investment of, in the United States, around $100 a year or $12.99 a month, also is a sunk cost in the minds of consumers, where they feel obligated to some extent to do their shopping on Amazon due to their initial investment in the membership. Prime shoppers have been shown to spend more than double your average Amazon shopper who does not have a Prime membership. So 100 million is a number that indicates that Prime is succeeding to the level everyone believes that it is. In terms of a breakdown, we don't have precise figures. We've done some ballpark back of the napkin math estimates using what we know about the nature of Prime in markets around the world, Amazon's current coverage of markets around the world, and the sales dollars moving through the platform. And loose estimates have of that 100 million paid Prime subscriptions, anywhere from 65 to 75 million of them, in our viewpoint, are most likely based in the United States, Amazon's first market, and to be honest, the best served Prime member market in the world to this point. Everything launches in the US traditionally first, and it has had the longest kind of run rate to ramp up. But that is to say that, you know, if you think that the US has this high of a Prime member density figure, what does that mean for Amazon's strategy long term? Is Prime membership reaching some sort of saturation here in the United States? I think saturation might be a too strong term, but I do think that Amazon is looking abroad to its markets around the world, really looking to build out Prime membership, really enhance the offering, and add more and more consumers in all of its markets around the world to the Prime program. Moving off of that, but also related, Prime is rumored to soon be deeply integrated with the Whole Foods store-based environment, which Amazon moved to acquire Whole Foods last year in a bid to get more deeply integrated into US grocery and better figure out the perishable grocery category for their platform. Also in the shareholder letter of last week, it was indicated that point of sale systems at Whole Foods stores are being worked on to better recognize Prime members as they move through the store. Signage was put up in stores in certain parts of the country that you can see on the screen here, indicating that Prime members will now, as predicted by many, start receiving discounts that Prime members do not have access to in Whole Foods stores. And I think in terms of the digital ecosystem, this is, again, a value stack play here. It is going to just reinforce the value of being a Prime member, and also reinforce the value of being a Prime member in the Whole Foods store. Both the Whole Foods store-based environment and traditional, physical grocery retailing, and the Amazon online environment which benefits from people being Prime members, will benefit from moves like this with Prime member exclusive discounts in store. Elements of the Whole Foods business model are already Prime member exclusive. As I talked about last month, Amazon is increasingly delivering groceries from Whole Foods stores via their Prime Now rapid delivery system, under 2-hour delivery of perishables from Whole Foods. Prime Now is only available to Prime members in the city markets that it is currently available. So already there is a level of exclusivity, which will result in deeper loyalty and increased spend at Whole Foods stores and on Amazon in general. In the idea of technology and innovation for Amazon, they continue to emphasize the home and trying to be more deeply integrated in the home. I think Alexa and the Alexa voice system and Alexa connected devices is perhaps the largest and most important business line that's aimed at this end goal of being more deeply integrated in shoppers' lives around their homes, their ordering, and all of their consumer activities. But Amazon has invested in a program known as Amazon Key that will allow for in-home grocery delivery, rivaling a trial actually being done by Walmart with Deliv and August smart locks. But the idea of the Amazon Key system is that with an Amazon Cloud Cam smart camera, a smart lock on your front door, of which there's 9 companies that are currently compatible, and your Amazon app, you will be able to order items, have them be safely delivered within your home, where you can supervise the order via video. This prevents a major problem in the kind of e-commerce experience in many parts of many countries where package theft from doorsteps is a major concern. This Key program was being trialed in limited areas around the country, but it is being expanded to the entire country. So you can have an Amazon Key system installed anywhere in the United States. In-home delivery is not fully covering the entire United States right now. So if you're in an area without in-home delivery, you can use Amazon Key to do things that are non-delivery related, such as let friends and family into your home, supervise activities around your doorstep. But I expect in-home delivery to expand long-term and be available to every single shopper or consumer that chooses to engage with this type of smart home system. On top of that, news emerged yesterday of Amazon is currently internally working on a mobile robot for inside the home that will be Alexa compatible. This robot won't be able to do any sort of kind of physical home service activities, but it will be able to kind of interact with the shopper throughout the home, understand and map the home environment, better contextualize what exactly the shopper's requesting in which parts of the home. This will be advantageous to shoppers that weren't looking to outfit their home with Echo Dot speakers in every room. It will be advantageous for the system to learn kind of how best Alexa should interact with smart home environments. This will not be for all shoppers. Many people find, programs like Amazon Key and this idea of this robot to be too invasive. But for some shoppers who really value the convenience of a system like this, they're going to adopt it wholeheartedly. And this is only going to enhance this idea of Amazon and Amazon through its Alexa system becoming almost ubiquitous in shoppers' lives, trying to be the #1 voice system integrated in all aspects of where you are, whether it be in the home, in the car, or elsewhere, which will then result in Amazon being a winner in whatever share of commerce moves over to these voice platforms long term. I look to India next for some other, activity of I guess Q1 and recently. Flipkart is being considered by Amazon and Walmart in terms of an acquisition. Now there's questions around how much Amazon actually considered Flipkart, but if we look at the timeline here, Walmart, who has been on and off rumored to consider either small scale investment to large scale investment to wholesale, acquisition of Flipkart, renewed its interest in Flipkart at the end of January. In early April, news emerged that Amazon was considering a bid for the platform, the one that is #1 in India. It should be known that Amazon India has the #1 viewership of an online shopping platform and is the fastest growing platform due to the massive multi-billion-dollar investment the company's making there. But Flipkart is considered kind of the incumbent local player. And Walmart, in its global quest to oppose Amazon, is seriously considering a bid for them. Amazon's offer seems to be fizzled and dead. Some people have rumored that the offer was simply there to bid up the price of Flipkart and maybe hurt Walmart a little bit more in terms of how much they wanted to pay. And it does appear like Walmart is closer to closing the deal. Rumors have emerged that due diligence process on the side of Walmart looking into Flipkart is done, and they're considering a majority investment in Flipkart. This would really enhance their presence in India and only make that market a bigger battleground for Amazon abroad. Amazon has indicated India is a must-win market for them long term. It's going to be critical. After missing out on the success in Rise and how lucrative the Chinese market is for JD.com and Alibaba's Tmall, Amazon has put a flag in the sand and said that India is a must-win market for them and is investing heavily to do that. The other global marketplaces around the world obviously are looking to compete as heavily against Amazon and make that process as difficult as possible. Amazon, in other news around India, has indicated that they expect a high proportion of their shoppers spend in the market to actually be in grocery categories, up to 50% long term once the market reaches a little bit more maturity for Amazon. This is interesting, and it is somewhat indicative of emerging markets around the world where consumables and grocery spend actually can be a higher portion of shoppers and consumers' consumption due to differing levels of discretionary income. So in emerging markets, even more so critical than developed markets, winning those consumables and grocery categories is critical for capturing this tremendous spend that is being created by population growth. These shoppers have a higher proportion going through these consumables categories, so it's a critical area for them. It'll be interesting to see if the Walmart Flipkart deal closes anytime soon or if some sort of obstacle emerges, and I expect only enhanced and increased competition long term for Amazon in the market. But with that, let's take a look at Amazon tactics, and this month is pricing. So first, just to set the context, price gravity is this concept of e-commerce really serving as a downward force on prices across categories. This is US data from one of our sister companies, One Click Retail. And in looking across categories, you see obviously varied price drops on an annual basis, but 84% of SKUs monitored in this study dropped during the previous 12 months, and 46% of those SKUs remained at that lower price. It's just a simple fact that e-commerce is serving as a depressive or a downward force on pricing across the market for a variety of reasons. What is driving that price gravity? Well, competition and the rise of e-commerce and online has created increased transparency for shoppers. They can, in aisle, scan an item and realize that it's cheaper online. It's a new environment, very different than the store-based world of old, where things like zone pricing on a fairly granular basis were possible due to shoppers' inability to compare and shop prices. Additionally, retailers are using price matching policies online that can serve as really corrosive to price levels, and something we're going to look at a little more detail in regards to Amazon in a couple slides. Again, as competition heats up and everyone is so hungry for growth, there has been increased promotional offers, especially online, as retailers look to capture sales dollars by any means possible. Again, it gets all the way down to the depth of clearance and closeout selling, also being enforcing downward pressure on prices in an environment where many retailers, store-based, online, and otherwise, are really struggling competitively. Lowering prices, offering really steep discounts can be one of the ways that they compete, but this has an effect on the market in total in terms of pricing, creates this environment of price gravity that we're talking about. But why does it matter? In the short term, lower retail prices are great for consumers. It increases their demand and it increases sales. But in the long term, this can be a challenging issue for suppliers looking to operate in these markets. It increases channel conflict and understanding, what partnerships are most lucrative and beneficial to your pricing levels. You see commoditization of the brand, decreased brand value perception. You see a reduction in retailer margin, which can be cause pressure to be forced back on the suppliers, resulting in an ask for increased investment on behalf of suppliers with their retail partners. Again, this can reduce manufacturer margins as well and cause issues with investment and funding. And in general, if the environment kind of continues to perpetuate and race to the bottom, this can result in decreased sales. Items will be delisted due to the inability to make a profit on them. Can cause disillusionment with e-commerce as a model in general, deprioritization. It can just be very negative to growth in general. And I think one of the key aspects, we were talking a little bit about price matching earlier, is let's think about the Amazon pricing algorithm and how it actually operates, this pricing system. It has multiple aspects, and it can be something of a black box in terms of how Amazon determines the prices of the 1P items they sell, whether or not they choose to win the buy box on an item, where 3P sellers are setting price, how all the system works. And Amazon is constantly monitoring the prices of competitors with a competitive monitoring tool. They also are considering everything from the 3P seller set prices to a margin calculation to considerations about things like MAP, minimum advertised pricing. All of this kind of flows up into this pricing system that Amazon has and determines the final selling price and basically where Amazon is looking to sell an item. And Amazon's pricing system operates on comparing these items not on a similar pack size basis, but on a per unit basis. So one challenge we see from a lot of our clients is things like their club packs are getting comped to Amazon items that are not club pack size on a per unit per item basis. This is really challenging and can cause a lot of channel conflict. Additionally, it should be understood that not all items are price shifted at the same pace. Items are grouped into velocity bands based on the relative order volume, and that really determines how often Amazon is really evaluating price. And to get a look at some of those bands and the frequency and how often items will change price, you can see it's not a second by second consideration for all categories or all items, but for the highest volume items, the most critical items, those are getting checked and changed multiple times a day by this algorithm. And this velocity band creates a really kind of, if you're in a high velocity band, creates a really kind of competitive environment in which price matching is happening continuously and constantly online. Additionally, Amazon's ability to price match various promotions across channels creates channel conflict at many suppliers and in their organizations. This example here is mostly hypothetical. It's the idea that whether it be a Walmart rollback, a Target promotion, and a drugstore promotion, Amazon's continuing to match these low promotional prices quarter over quarter and really just maintaining a super hyper low price level. Additionally, you're seeing other marketplace platforms as they get savvier, Walmart.com, for example, to be really predatory or understanding of how Amazon is price matching and looking to be tactical in how they set prices in terms of influencing what the SKUs on Amazon.com are doing. This is true outside of the United States. It's actually true across the world. There's unique issues in places like Europe, for example, where Amazon is increasingly looking to be a pan-European organization. There's been issues with suppliers who look to do a promotion in a certain European market with a customer in a brick-and-mortar.com customer, let's say, and that gets picked up by the Amazon pricing algorithm in that market and then gets reflected as Amazon increasingly tries to drive more of a continental strategy in Europe. That price gets reflected across all of the Amazon.com sites in all of the markets and serves to crater the pricing levels for the entire region versus an individual market on its own. So as Amazon continues to roll up and consolidate online retail in general, they are going to continue to be a downward force on pricing. Now, there are some tools and levers to pull for suppliers. For example, in some parts of the world, the US and Canada specifically, there are MAP and MRP policies. These are just suggested minimum advertised and minimum retail prices. The idea here is that retailers still do dictate price, but by having a MAP policy, brands can at least enact some control. This is an area where there is significant challenges. The online retailers are unlikely to adhere to these policies at times. It requires extensive investment and resourcing in that it requires a high level of vigilance on behalf of suppliers to see what prices their items are being sold at by their online retail partners like Amazon. And it's really tough to enforce. It's really tough to execute, and it's hard to have kind of constant vigilance on what prices are doing in these really dynamic environments like Amazon.com. For that reason, many suppliers look to third-party vendors, some of which are our sister companies here at Planet Retail RNG in One Click Retail and Clavis Insight, to help them monitor pricing levels on some of these platforms and better if they want to enforce MAP and MRP as a suggestion and a part of negotiations with a platform like Amazon. Additionally, there is an element of differentiating your product portfolio on these platforms to make it a little bit more challenging for price matching to occur and this race to the bottom to happen. This example, and please excuse the blurriness here, I was zooming in on a pretty minute item, is an example of the same item listed on Walmart.com and Amazon.com, but with minute and negligible in terms of a cost basis differences in the makeup of the actual item you order, making the items not like for like and difficult for the two platforms to match to one another. Other alternative strategies that many are considering are things like bundling. So making unique order bundles. On one hand, it's actually helpful in that you can raise kind of the retail price of a basket of goods and make the economics of an e-commerce order more viable, but also makes a unique ASIN on Amazon.com a unique item that's more difficult to price match and can serve to put a little bit of a hold and brakes on this price matching algorithm that can serve to be so deflationary. And then finally, there is an element of operating as a third party. Third-party sellers set their own prices on Amazon.com. Some suppliers are considering a hybrid model of starting to selectively list some third-party items. There are a number of small platforms out there that exclusively list as 3P and really heavily control their distribution, and through those means seek to control prices on Amazon.com. In a hypothetical scenario here, operating as a third party could potentially give the supplier manufacturer access to the retail price because they're seeing the end price through the consumer. In reality, this doesn't happen as often as we'd like, but it is something to be considered that 3P sellers do fully control and set their own prices in that 1P does not. And price is a consideration for many suppliers as they consider things like hybrid 1P, 3P models. And finally, just to close with some implications before I get to questions, I think the clear indication here is Amazon is a major contributor to the deflationary environment for prices due to basically changing the e-commerce world with how quickly and effectively they match prices, scrape for prices, and look to compete with other marketplace platforms online to really drive the best prices to retain consumers. I think one of the key takeaways for many suppliers is this can result in so much channel conflict, and so there really needs to be coordination and strategy across channels due to this issue of pricing algorithms, pricing off of individual units versus entire packs. There's a level of coordination required there for success. There's tools available to suppliers, whether that be enacting a MAP or MRP policy, whether it be developing unique items for unique marketplace platforms. There's a lot of levers to be pulled, including possibly operating as a 3P. Pricing is a really big challenge in this current e-commerce environment, and it will only continue to be so as Amazon, sees other platforms emerge and become almost adept as it is. As I said earlier, Walmart.com is going to try and compete heavily with Amazon and is already competing heavily with Amazon on price on many items. This all just serves to create this environment of price gravity that we've been speaking about. So with that, I'll just remind everyone, you can see my email on the screen here. Please feel free to reach out to me there with any questions or asks you have after the call, but I'll take a look at our questions here and see if we have any with the time we have remaining. All right. So there's a question about the volume of price matching with grocery. So due to Amazon's challenges around the grocery category and basically perishable grocery almost fully flowing through the Fresh platform, it just results in a lower speed of price matching. There isn't the level of third-party seller depth in many of these categories that you'll see in things like, for example, I don't know, electronics and accessories, for example. So the pricing environment is less competitive. Also, because these bands, these pricing bands that you see is dictated by kind of the sales volume moving through them. And grocery is, while growing quickly and getting more important at Amazon, not necessarily a massive category for Amazon.com. It's just tends to be a lower pricing band for them. I think as Amazon ramps up their grocery offering online, and if they really do figure it out with the Whole Foods offering, you'll see price matching only increase as the platform evolves. All right. And looking further here. Okay, with that, I think in terms of what I can see on the tool here, that's all the questions we had on the call today. If there were any I missed, I will look into answering those on a one-to-one basis after the call via email. Be on the lookout for our next month Amazon briefing webinar. We will again look into some of Amazon's most recent developments and then do a deep dive on an individual Amazon tactic. Thanks for joining me today, everyone, and please do fill out the poll questions after I close the webinar. It would really help us in guiding our thinking for these going forward. Thanks again.